Are we ready to start?
Yeah, I'm ready. Let's just start.
Okay. Hello.
Hey,
Hi.
gonna be a little different today.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
We have to do this on my phone because I don't have any internet connection for Wi-Fi.
Yep. And that's okay. So we just had to adjust because adjustments are required. And that's that. So welcome.
Changes are coming.
Changes are coming. Always, always, right? We didn't do like an intro last time. So I thought maybe we could do an intro this time.
Okay.
Like, hello. Nice to meet you. My name is Maggie. Hello.
Hi, Max.
Hi. And you are?
I'm Elaine.
And welcome to our podcast, Eggs and Eco, where we just talk about all the things our heart desires.
Yeah, real life stuff, because it's not all going to be butterflies and rainbows.
Right. And just growth, personal growth, spiritual growth, and all of that. And this is a journey for us as well. You know, it's something that we've been interested in different aspects for a while. And I was telling her, Elaine, earlier, I really want us to talk about intentions today. I know I can't remember if we had something planned or not, but I said I was thinking about intentions and manifesting because it's something, some of it's kind of new and some of it's, we do it and then we are just like super surprised when it works out. And I thought, well, at first that's that limiting mindset. I'm like, well, who are we to talk about that? Like, we don't know a whole lot about this stuff. But then I thought, you know what? Just like, it's a journey. Like, we're learning and growing too. And so it'll be really interesting to see down the line how far we've come, and how much we've learned and how much we've shared.
I think that's great. And the fact that the more of you that are involved, the more we can spread our wings and really cover all different types of topics that are of interest to you. So as we mentioned before in our first, episode, that this is your podcast too.
Yeah.
So that's where things will get super interesting because we're going to pull all of that in and all of this is going to be, we're going to be more structured in our upcoming episodes, but it's always going to be raw. It's not going to be scripted. It's just, this is what it's going to be. As if we're having a conversation with you, if you wanted to call us up one day and talk, this is what it would be.
Yeah. And so our email is going to be, or is in the description box down below. So we welcome emails and voice clips if you want to call in and send an audio, because I'm really bad at typing stuff out myself. If you don't feel like commenting here on the channel because it's maybe personal or anyway, so send us your ideas, send us your comments, questions, concerns, things you would like to talk about, or if you would like to come and talk to us about something, then that's another option as well. And let us know about what your thoughts about intentions and manifesting are. I would love to hear from some of you because I'm sure that you guys also have more experience. Some of you may have more, some of you may have less or different, and it's so personal. Like, so everybody's take on it is different. And so it's so interesting to hear different people's points of view and aspects. And like I say, I don't think anything is an accident. So if you're hearing this and you're like, you know what? And you have that little nudge to like, maybe I should tell them about, and then you think, oh no, they won't want to. No, we do. We do. Yeah.
For reals, we do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We want to know what your approaches are, or what you've struggled through, what you actually learned to help you the best way that you could share with everybody else, because maybe what you do is so unique, but it could help a lot of other people too.
Yeah.
And then also to mention, not to be YouTube-y or whatever, but do subscribe, because we're going to have days or we're just going to have these random little clips that we may upload that we were talking about earlier in our conversation of, we want to share the sunset with you, or we found this really cool thing, or I had a little brain vomit I needed to share with you. Just random clips that we'll put up here and there and kind of pepper throughout our podcast. So, but you wouldn't know that if you didn't subscribe. So do it.
Little gems, right? And and on Instagram, we're on Instagram. We've been doing stuff over there. So that's been fun. Okay.
Yeah.
So, intentions, manifesting. Tell me what your thoughts are on those things, and then we'll go from there.
For me?
Yeah, you.
Well, okay. Well, like when we did our first episode with the moon cards, that is a form of meditation for me. So a lot of times that I can pull some intentions from that after I kind of mill it over in my head a little bit if I feel a little frazzled, because I get like that too. And I'm the kind of person that wants to put a shitload of things on my plate. And it's not because I don't think that I can do them. It's the time constraints that I have. So it's time management. And so usually pulling that back in to help me have the right intention to step off and say, okay, this is where I'm going to start. So like this weekend's been kind of one of those frazzled things. And I end up doing a project, and then it turns into something else. And then it turns into this. And then I get an idea for that. So there we go. Boop, 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 boop. And before you know it, I never did what I was supposed to do, which was break down and clean out one of my fish aquariums and all of that stuff. So still got to do that. But like doing the moon cards with Maggie, that helps me get back on track. So that's one form that I use, which is kind of a lengthy process, but that helps me get to the intentions, because sometimes just trying to find the intention is hard enough already. As simple as it sounds, it's hard to get that intention nailed down.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
As far as manifesting, I am very more analytical, more in my head, whereas Maggie's more in her heart and her how she feels. And so I like actually writing out a plan. So I have like notes everywhere, and I have planners, and if I don't like the way that it looks, I might redo it, and then it helps me put that into action. So I'll break it down and say maybe 3 different things that I need to do to get this intention rolling. That's how I usually do my manifestations. Or if I'm just totally frazzled, and I just go in the garden and start watering and picking at stuff, and then it hits me. And of course, when all of those things start manifesting and all those thoughts come to place and you start getting clarity, I usually get it when I'm in the shower or when I'm driving. And that's where those random thoughts and recordings are going to be posted, because that's when I get some of my best ideas or intentions, or finding a way to manifest these intentions.
I was about to write something down, because I'm like, I need to just keep a notebook. So while you're talking, because things pop into my head, and I'm like, I need to write that down. But I think I can remember now because it's short enough. When you said that about the getting into the garden, which I totally agree with, and something happened yesterday for me where I ended up in the mountains. I even was joking to myself, like, went garage sailing, oops, I ended up in the mountains, you know. But which we'll get to in a minute, like what I ended up processing as I'm just driving through these really kind of hairy, you know, turns through this mountain pass where there are people biking up, you know, but there are these like really sharp turns, so you can't see the other cars coming, and they're really narrow 2-lane deal. And like, so you really have to focus. I couldn't be somewhere else in my mind. I mean, so I was thinking, you know, I was processing some stuff, but also like having to be really present. So I think it kind of helped. But and I think we talked about this before, like, you know, people will say, are you a beach person? Are you a mountain person? A stream? Like, whatever, you know. And I've never really ever been in the mountains before this move, or a few trips to Colorado before this, because we lived in Texas and we weren't, I mean, other than the mountains in West Texas, which are not like these mountains, you know. But having been, where did we go? Last week, Monday, we went to Cheyenne Canyon Park. And it's just like my brain was like sparkles, right? Where I was like, oh my gosh, here it is with all the trees and then the stream running through. And it was just like, this is what I like. I want to sit right here and put my feet in this stream and just listen to the everything. I forget how I got onto this topic though. Processing in nature. That's what it is.
Yeah.
But on that drive through the mountains, I ended up processing something that I thought was an intention or a manifestation, or maybe it was. But when I talk about manifesting and intentions, I'm still really new to this. And I feel like when I went garage sailing this weekend, I had some more ahas because a lot of times it's funny, we'll talk about, and I think what sparked it was the porch swings. You have a really nice property and you were wanting swings, like outside porch type swings to put around the property and benches and things. And I don't usually see them when I'm garage sailing, or did. This is when I was still in Texas. And then one weekend, it was like we had just talked about it the day before. The very next day, I found 3 out garage sailing. And 2 I gave to you, and 1 I ended up keeping. Did I end up giving it to you? I ended up giving it to you eventually,
yeah.
right?
Now it's on the porch.
Yeah. And so I was just like, whoa. And so we would start kind of jokingly doing this every weekend before I'd go garage sailing. What are you looking for? What do you need? What do you need? What do I need? Okay, everybody, let's say it to the universe. Universe, this is what we're looking for. And it would be uncanny how frequently we would find the things we were looking for, right? And so last weekend, this was the weird thing, because last weekend I was like, I'm going to find a selenite tower. And I think maybe it's the way I worded it. I didn't ask. I was just like cocky. I was like, I'm going to find a selenite tower this weekend. I'm going to. And I didn't. And I was like really disappointed that it didn't happen. And I was talking to you about that. I'm going to pull this over right here. And I was talking to you about it. I don't know if remember it was Saturday or Friday. I think it was Saturday. And I was like, yeah, I was just so disappointed that I didn't find it. And then yesterday when I was garage sailing, I found 4, or she had them all lumped together. And these are more like wands, not necessarily like a tower, but I was like, oh, I'll take it. Yeah. So
have you put light through those yet?
I haven't put light through them yet. You want me to put a light through this one real quick?
Let's see it.
All right. I love selenite, by the way, so much. And I love it when it's clear because you can get that double, that it's like TV rock. I have a piece over there.
There you go.
Yeah. My fingers are in the way.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. There's another property. Okay, we're going to go talk about selenite for 1 second. Let me get my piece of selenite. Is it there? Where is it? I have another better piece, but I'm going to grab this one. Selenite has a property which and it brings things to the surface, right? So I don't know if this is something that I about rocks and minerals or whatever, but literally it brings things to the surface. So if I have some writing, make sure it's nothing personal.
What do you mean? We're supposed to be personal here.
This is my little notebook where I'm like, I meant to put this under my pillow. It says mind, body, spirit, feeling. How do I see myself through my own eyes, not my reactive self? I wrote that the other day. I was like, now I'm like, what was I talking about? But let's see if I can get it to work on the camera. But if you see, I may have to take a picture of it doing it. Selenite.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can see that, because if it's super clear, it's even better. Where it like,
oh, can I go get my big shard that I collected?
Do you have a big
West
one?
Texas? Yeah, I have a big shard of selenite.
No, because this one's got like a curved edge. I have a flat piece, but when you put
All right, I have a flat piece.
I'm grab
gonna go get it.
When you put it, I think because this is curved on the edge, it will it's not magnified. It like brings it to the surface, like literally looks like, and the nickname is TV rock. When I was in geology, like you can kind of see it, but it's curved. where it like brings it like up to the top. How big is your piece?
I'm gonna go see if mine does that.
Because
and you talk to them when I'll go grab mine.
Okay. Yeah, because the shard of it, it's like you can't really tell because it's anyway. I have another piece somewhere. I've got to find it. Yeah. Okay. Come on, focus, camera. There we go. I forgot how I got. Oh, yeah, we were talking about manifesting and the selenite and me wanting this to get a selenite tower. So I set those intentions to go and get, I really wanted some selenite. So I was really excited about that. And then also my nephew started collecting these little, like they're from blind boxes and they're called Sminskys or whatever. They glow in the dark. I have it in the other room. And they're like these little blind box figures and they're super cute. And so when I was going garage selling, I was asking Elaine, like, well, what are you looking for? You know, what should I put out there to try to find? And that was one of the other things where some of those little Sminskys or whatever. And I found one in a free box, still sealed and everything. So I was very excited that I found that for winter. I was talking about the Sminsky things. What do you call them? Elaine, can you hear me? She can't hear me.
I'll take you out. I can't find my super flat clear one. I don't know what happened to it.
Let's see. Ooh, is it going to be clear enough, you think?
I have a really super clear one, but I don't know where I put it at. But this is selenite here. And it's got a lot more minerals and stuff in there. You can see the layers.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And when I used to collect driftwood, I would walk in these dry cuts and I would find selenite hanging out of these dry cuts. But it looked like, you remember that part in the movie Never Ending Story, and Atreyu was on his horse and they were going to the ivory tower, and they were riding through different places that had like shards and crystals hanging out. This is what it looked like when I found it, when I was going through these dry cuts, and there would be areas to where the shards were sticking out. Some of the shards were like 3 foot long.
Wow.
And like a whole wall in the dry cut could be like an 8x8 area, and they were just jetting out. I was like, what is that? And I would dig it all out. And
that's so cool.
But the thing is about selenite is I didn't realize when I had collected a whole bunch of them, if you leave them outside in the rain, they'll dissolve.
Yikes.
But I don't know.
That's so cool.
Let's see. Can we bring tutors up? Jeez.
It may be too like smoky.
Yeah, and this one has a lot of. There's a cat butt in it.
Cat butt. I forget now where I was going with that. Needing the selenite because it brings things to the surface. And I don't know all the like we've all, you and I both have just always been drawn to rocks and minerals and crystals and whether or not, I don't know about the reality of certain minerals and things having properties that are it's something that I'm still, but I've always been drawn to them anyway. And I like the idea that this selenite brings things to the surface, you know.
Especially when it's things that you don't really want to base, but you have to.
Right. And so with the intentions, that was where I'm going to get back to that. You know, I was talking about really wanting to find a selenite tower, but these are perfect. Sometimes you want one thing and you get what you actually need instead. So
yeah.
And then when it comes to, I don't know that manifesting and intentions, I don't know that it's the same or different. I don't really know. I feel like there's probably a differentiation, and manifesting is, but maybe not. I don't know. Um, but it made me think, like, what is it that if I'm able to set these intentions and so randomly find these, or find that little thing for winter that he collects, it's a random like blind box, right? And
Mm-hmm.
to randomly find these things by setting these intentions, like if it's like I'm wishing too small. I don't like to use the word wish, but like I'm thinking small. Like there's bigger things that could be focused on, because we've seen it work over and over and over again. And maybe it's just for laughs. I don't know, but
No, but it's kind of cool to test it, I guess, to see if it really does work. But part of the intentions too is, what we talked about yesterday when we pulled that card for, or the day before, whenever that was. It's the weekend. My days are mixed up. About the new moon in Capricorn and hard work.
right,
Because you can have the best intentions, but if you don't have any plan of action behind it, it is a wish.
right, yeah. And I think a lot of it too is, and where did I hear this? That it's not just about you. That your intentions and manifestations are so much stronger. Where did I just hear this? It's so much stronger when it's not selfish. It's like, yeah, it may be something that you're wanting, but it's also something that is going to benefit others, you know? And
Mm-hmm.
so even if it's just me finding this selenite is going to help me in my practice of becoming more mindful and that's going to help my children because I'm going to be a more grounded, centered mom and focused on, the things that we need. So it's just like, finding that for winter is just that intention behind it is, your aunt loves you.
Mm-hmm.
Your aunt is thinking about you.
And she remembers the things that are special to you. And the thing is like even with your kids and stuff, seeing that you're becoming more intentional with what you're doing, whether they realize it or not, they're going to put that into their own practice in their life.
Right.
Because you're teaching them that.
Putting into, and that was one of the big things moving here is putting our intentions out as far as what we're looking for, community, friendships,
Mm-hmm.
purpose, fulfillment, adventure, like all of these just, and then getting the house, like the home I shared with you the other day. I've never had a clear vision for what I wanted my home to look like or be like, or it was always just a modge podge of whatever.
Yeah.
And because I never had this focus of who I was, which is more something we are talking about with the name thing, but I've never had that focus.
Because you were compromising too.
Right. And to the point where I was letting the people I was with kind of take over because I was like, well, I don't really care. It means more to them than it does to me. But then it was like, ooh, but I really don't enjoy leather sofas. I really don't like mid-century modern. I like softer. I mean, there are pieces of mid-century modern I like, but I couldn't have a whole house of it.
Well, maybe that'll be another podcast for another time about maybe what the difference is between intention and compromise too.
Yeah, because I do think about that, like where I'm finally getting the house the way I want it, and I think, how could I let somebody else into this space? I mean, not just let them in to be and visit and whatever, but move in, and if I were to find a partner.
Oh, you mean to share it with that y'all would,
because now
y'all would both be happy with.
Right, because what are the odds that I would find somebody that was just like, this is perfect the way it is, and I can't imagine anything being different, because that's just not the way it is, and
Mm-mm.
finding that compromise with another person, but I'm not planning on getting. That's not a piece of coprolite, is it? Did you
This
put?
one?
That's not coprolite, is it?
No, it's a fossil.
Well, that's what coprolite is, like a fossilized poop.
No, it's a.
Oh, it's a shell, huh?
Uh-huh.
Oh yeah. Did I say that right? Coprolite. Anyway, that's really cool. Um,
Yeah, I'm setting up stones all around you
Thank you.
on your.
Oh, I found my tiger's eye that I was trying to find for Mike the other day. I was trying to find that
Oh
bracelet
yeah,
because he saw
those
this
are
new one
cool.
that I got, this new blue,
I love that one.
and he was like, "I'll just take that." I said, "You will absolutely not." Just normally, I'm like, "Okay, baby, whatever you want." I was like, "Not this one." I said, "I've got another tiger's eye bracelet, and I got it. I can't remember where."
Well, when I come visit you, we're going there because I'm going to get one to match.
Oh yeah,
We're going to be twinsies.
twinsies. It's gorgeous. Okay, intentions. So that was like where I started thinking like, am I thinking too small with these intentions? Am I, do I would like to test it out and try something bigger.
Okay, so what would your intention be now? What would be an example of something bigger?
Well, I mean, as you and I talked about, like I do want to find ultimately, soulmate's not the right word, but the person that is meant for me. And I said to you, I don't think I'm ready. You know, I don't feel like I'm ready for that yet. Like I still have things I need to do first. So that's there. It's kind of like simmering, but I also feel like I'm not there yet. Um,
But I think that's a basic human need or want to be very close to somebody. I mean, who doesn't want that? To have that intimate companionship. Somebody that, even though they may not completely understand you, they accept it, flaws and all.
yeah,
That's very rare.
we talked about that earlier. You know, just they don't have to be 100% into the same stuff as I am, but somebody that's not going to look at it and be like, what? You know, that would be immediately like, well, we're not going to be working out. And nice to meet you. I'm sure there was a reason. So, but I wanted to share the story. The other thing that happened that was the whole like another where I ended up in the mountains. Oops, I'm in the mountains.
Yeah.
Was I had a person that was like what I thought, who I thought was like the love of my life, right? That I had a very deep connection with. And this is back in my early 20s. And we were together off and on about 4 years or so. And then again, we were going to try to get back together later on, and things worked out. But when we broke up after it was, we had our off and on even during that 4 year period. But it was like my heart broke so bad. I'd never experienced anything like it. And I vowed I would never allow myself to fall in love like that again, to be in that kind of position where I could get hurt that bad. Now, that's not what happened, because eventually that did end up happening again recently. But from that person till present, I had never allowed myself to love that deeply. Nor do I think now, I'm like, maybe it just wasn't healthy for me to love that deeply, to put so much of myself into another person and to allow myself to get like, because the person that is meant for me would never allow that to happen to me, you know, or never be the catalyst for something like that to happen, I think. I don't know.
Or just a one-sided taker.
Right. Yeah.
Because you kind of got to be all. If you're a taker, you have to be the giver, but you have to be the sharer too. Like,
yeah,
they always say taker, giver, but what about the sharer?
Right. And just somebody who's uplifting. Now we're talking about what I'm looking for, right? Somebody who's
well, I mean,
uplifting you. You know, somebody who, like, I uplift, and I want the best for people and my friends and mates and sister, and I'm like over here, like, come on, you know, you're gonna find the best. You're gonna be the best. You're gonna live your best. I want the best for you. I want you to find your best life. Anyway, I feel like I'm getting off topic, but I want that for me too. You know, I want that for me too. But so what happened was this person, I don't want to use name, um, but this person that and we ended up parting friends. It wasn't that because we ended up, off and on. We had that 4 year good stretch, well, good, bad, up and down stretch. And then after that, we were still friends and we still did things that friends do. Anyway, and then he moved. And then there was a stretch there where he was going to come back. We were going to live together. But in the meantime, during the interim, he ended up finding the woman that he married ultimately. And I didn't have any pain about that at that point, which was good. But anyway, we haven't really talked every now and then, like maybe 3 times in the last 20 years. It's been through email, like, hey, how are you? Just here's a picture of my kids, that kind of thing. And it was just like a one, two, not even a lengthy back and forth, just sort of like checking for life, kind of,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
you alive? You good? Okay, we're good. Okay, good. Well, anyway, and this person has never been on social media, never had any Facebook throughout this whole entire time, and from time to time I'd just go look like, no, still no, still no. Well, anyway, hadn't thought about him in ages. And then Friday night, I had a very vivid dream of him and me and like getting together and all of this stuff. And I was like, whoa, I woke up just like, okay. So I went and looked, and sure enough, he had created a Facebook account in May, just like a couple months ago, which is crazy. 12 friends, right? That's it, because he's always been really tight, small circle. Anyway, but the whole thing with the intentions thing is, I gotta take a sip. My mouth's getting dry. That my initial knee jerk was like, oh my God, what does this mean? Does this mean we're supposed to be like getting back together? What's happening here? Right? But, and this is when I started driving through the mountains. I was garage sailing and I kept getting closer and closer and closer to little towns that were by the mountains. The next thing I know, I'm like, I'm just going to drive through the mountains. And as I did, I was just thinking, like, no, like, this is a test. Like, for me to go from this person that I was so in love with, that just demolished my heart, to having this dream about this other person that I was so in love with. I won't say he demolished my heart, but it didn't work out clearly. And for me to be like, no, this is not what I want, And so for me to take that intention or that dream, because like you said, we're so quick sometimes to say, oh my gosh, this, and we try to fit it into but when I started thinking about it, like, what is it that I'm wanting? I'm not wanting him. Clearly, I mean, he's married, but that's neither here nor there. But it was like, like, no, Margot, this is a test. This is a test to see, are you really ready for what you want? Are you really ready for what your soul needs? Or are you wanting to fall back into that same pattern of the same kind of love that you've been used to getting, and I shared with you, like, I looked at his profile picture and just thought, P.S., dating apps are horrible. I just thought, if I saw his picture on a dating app, would my heart pitter pat, or would I be like, no, And I was like, no, and not that he's not a handsome dude, but I'm just like, no. And
why?
Yeah, and then also where I am and what I've realized about myself. And now that's not to say he hasn't grown into being a different person. Maybe I don't know. But just the way he, I said I was telling you, he's just a really super calm guy. He kind of reminds me of Dad in that way, where he's just like chill. Okay. He doesn't get ruffled very easily. But he's also not like us, where we just go out and we like want to live life. Like, we have to grab life by the balls and like make our life fantastic. That's what we want. And not that he doesn't, I feel like it's coming out wrong, but
Maybe he's more reserved.
Yeah, and more like he's just happy with what he's got. He's happy with, and that's
Yeah.
fine. He's got the job he does, and he's happy with that. He doesn't necessarily, now again, he may have changed, but like he wasn't the kind of person that's like striving for more, striving for better, striving for, you know, knowing
So you
yourself.
felt like you were ambitious in more of a sense than he was.
Yeah. Yeah. So I feel like now, and I think I realized this along the way too, like if I had ever ended up with him, like I would have gone crazy, you know, wanting him to like do something with your life where he's perfectly content with the way his life is, which is fine for him,
Yeah.
you know. So I felt like it was, like I said, like kind of like a test.
That y'all had different needs. You just didn't realize it at that time because you let love get in the way of your need.
Yeah. And there were plenty of things I didn't like, you know, that I'm like, no, I wouldn't. And I did think about that. Like, I would not accept that again. And I'm not like a super materialistic person. I don't think. Maybe I am. But I do like, I'm a gift giver. Like, I enjoy giving gifts. It makes me happy when I see things. And I enjoy receiving gifts, you know? It took me a long time to get to that point where I could realize that because I've always been made to feel like it was selfish of me.
Yes. But I think that's just because of the past relationships that have entered your life. Yeah. And now that you're having different experiences and learning from life lessons, and with this big move, it wasn't just a move, it was a whole shift in your life. Just like a lot of people had commented about the video when you were in the basement about there's a lady that moved to Florida all the way, from up north and had to relocate. And it's not just a change, it's a life shift in everything. And now that you're seeing all of that, you're placing new intentions, you can go back to these lessons that you had from your past, make better intentions, and you're going to manifest the things that you need, not so much what you wanted at the time and that you would compromise for at the time. And I know what you mean, because a lot of people do compromise. I compromise every day. And there's a lot of things that I shouldn't compromise.
What's a big area that you feel like you shouldn't compromise that you do?
The way that, it's very personal, but maybe the way that some people talk to me.
Yeah. Because I would say, especially in our family, like you are the one that's, I don't want to say peacemaker, but you're the one that's like, and I feel like I can see both sides of situations and the goods and the bads, but you're definitely one that accepts more of the negative from family members and you don't say anything, but you accept. And I appreciate that as much as sometimes I'm like, why the hell are you still talking to him? And you know who I'm talking about. Like, he's such a jackass and blah, 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 blah. And like, there are things that happen that just cross the line for me where I was like, well, I'm done here, but it's like, you can still see the heart of that person and you can still see past some of the ugliness.
Yeah.
And still offer that person love, which I think is really something special. That you're not just doing that for him, but for other people, And I think sometimes that quality, not that
it's a fine line to walk, because it can be self-effacing.
And it's not that people take that for granted, but that they're just like see you as a doormat, that they can say and do what they want to you because and the fact that you seem to be more thoughtful before you speak, and take your time before you react. Instead of just reacting to something they said, you take it in, you take it to heart. And then it's like, well, then the time comes where you're ready to speak, it's like, well, the moment has passed. Or now it feels like I'm picking a fight. But
yes,
I'm not like that. So it's like hard for me, not to see, but just like,
But that's one of the intentions I'm working on, is not to be so self-effacing. And, when I get where I need to be in a position that I'm a lot more independent, as in many different ways, like where I'm going to end up, finally after I graduate in May of next year. There's going to be a lot of change, but I'm trying to look at this as a lesson as well. Like all the experiences you had with the lessons that you've had in your relationships. And I think now, being where we're at this point in life, and some of us take longer than others, but then when you have intentions that are a lot more planned out instead of these simple ones that you're talking about, but it really resonates into the future long term. It can resonate through your children as far as picking up ways for them to live their life in a better way. Then these lessons that you're learning, these dreams that you're having, just the fact that you're exploring out there and you're really thinking about it in a different view, you're going to be able to manifest a community like what we were talking about earlier, because you're straining out the things that are not. I mean, I guess it's like your house. You never really had your house the way you wanted to. And that's what I meant by earlier about compromise, because I still do a lot of compromising. But then a lot of that comes with self-shaming.
But where does the self-shaming come from?
And see, that depends on who you let into your world. So the intentions not only start with you, but it is bigger than you, because it's also the kind of crowd that you submerge yourself into, because that's what's going to manifest.
Right.
The mood, the attitudes, the emotions, the thoughts, the everything, the actions, and how you respond.
And
that's
true.
Why I've always told you before you even left Austin.
Yeah.
I knew that you needed to come there. I knew it'd be right.
Yeah.
Because you could do that. You could totally strain out all the bullshit. Reassess what you had left over. Start looking at, you. It's almost weird, like you're shedding, like a reptile that sheds a new skin, And now you can grow into something like a rainbow colored reptile or whatever you want to be, a tiger. Now you can shed off that winter coat and you can make some better choices on where you want to go with that.
Yeah.
And that's what your manifestation is going to be. I mean, so it all seems like it makes a circle right back around to itself. It's like a self-feeding thing. You are what you create. And I know that sounds like a cliche, but it really is true.
No,
the hardest part is shedding all of that shit.
Yeah. But you think about people whose life, just people that are miserable, and they spew that misery out onto people, but it's like, that self-talk is what you're creating for yourself. Like that, that negativity, that's a manifestation too. You're manifesting, well, everything's going to go wrong. And that was something that my previous partner, I was gently working with him on, because he would generally come straight out and like, well, nothing's going to work out anyway. And I'm like, check that. No, reverse, try it again. Say, a different way, and being, I had to be gentle with the way I approached that, instead of it seeming confrontational. But I thought about that for you with, situations where you find yourself in where things are said, barbs are thrown, or just little side comments, from the different people who deeply probably care about us, but are not thoughtfully thinking through what they're saying. To have like, not a script, but kind of like a playbook for yourself. Because I know sometimes you'll take it and you'll walk away with it and you'll process it. But some kind of little playbook where you can put a pin in that for that person and say, ow, just so they know, that, hey, this is something that, ow, and, that needs to stop. But where it's like not going to cause a fight, because you still want to have that time to process, but where they don't think they got away with it, or they don't think it bothered you. Like, so I think
I need to make my own voodoo doll. And so whenever something's said, I can put a pin in it. And then at the end of the month, I can say, yeah, how fucking shitty I feel.
Not a voodoo
Thanks a
doll.
lot.
Make it a heart. Make it a heart, and then put another
Not
little.
a voodoo doll. I don't want to do that to myself.
Go kiss the
saying,
little heart and say, "Mwah." That hurt you, but mwah, next time you're gonna say something that's gonna be loving.
I'll wear it around. I'll wear a little puffy heart around, and I'll keep a box of pens in my pocket. So when something's said to me, I can just pin it in my heart and say, "See."
No, just hand it to that person.
See me in a month.
Hand it to that person. Hand them the pin and be like, okay, try saying that again. But now you're going to physically poke me while you're emotionally poking me, because you're emotionally hurting me by saying those things. So let's see if you feel comfortable also physically hurting me, because it's the same thing. And those emotional wounds, like, they stick with you. I mean, and the shedding thing, you're right. I mean, I even mentioned this in the last podcast, where it feels like underneath this, like I have this entity that is just like, not clay, but it's like a glowing ooze, goo. I don't know. But it has all these things stuck to it. And I was telling you, like, being here, I'm able to like pick these little things off. They're just falling away. And there's a couple more. And even
scrape off them barnacles, lady.
Yeah. And it's like, even as far as my name, like I've never even considered like my name and why it is that because I don't feel like my name. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Not that I'm going to change my name to, but like Margaret is my name, and it's been my name, and people are always like, do you have a nickname? I'm like, no, not really. My sister calls me Maggie. But it was always because growing up, that was always really frowned upon by my family. Like, no, your name is Margaret, and it's and I was telling you earlier, and I said, we're going to talk about names and stuff probably, but it just felt like a brick wall coming down, like, Margaret. Like,
because that has a lot to do with your identity too.
And so now, it never even occurred to me until we really started doing this and really started talking about Elaine and Maggie. I'm hashtagging us all the time on Instagram, Elaine and Maggie, Elaine and Maggie. And I'm like, Maggie's just so much softer, so much happier.
You don't think I like Elaine? That sounds like an old lady's name.
Elaine. I think it just sounds like a big fart. Elaine. Well, we can do Lainey. Hi, Lainey.
I've heard Lainey many times.
Yeah. Because that's a sweet name.
Elaine's my middle name, though. Maggie May. I'll call Maggie May when she said something, and I'm like, Maggie May. Or Magsters.
And May is not my middle name at all. My middle name is like, every time I say it, people are like, what?
What?
And I have to spell it, and I have to explain it, and I'm like, it's Elspeth. They're like, you mean Elizabeth? I was like, it's my middle name. I know, it's not Elizabeth. It's Elspeth.
Elspeth.
Elspeth. It's the Scottish version of Elizabeth. Elspeth. Or that's what my mom always told me. Anyway. So, she said she read a book about a mermaid when she was growing up. And the mermaid's name was Elspeth.
You know what Dad wanted to call me when he adopted me?
What?
Michelle.
I don't think. I guess I could see it. Michelle.
But my mom won the battle.
Surprise, surprise. But Dad's so like. I mean, does Dad win any battles? Sounds bad.
No, he does not.
Well, I take that back. I mean, but we defer to him a lot. We really do. I mean, he comes to us to give us advice, wanted or not.
And the weather. If you need to know the weather.
And how you're driving home.
Yes. You need directions.
And then if you don't go the way that he is telling you, he would call, like, where was I? I was driving from somewhere. And he was like, where are you? Because he had told.
Oh, that's when you went camping. When you went camping.
Well, when we went together with Dad, like, he's sitting there pulling out the atlas, saying, well, we could go home this way, or we could go, and he's like, I was like, that's what Google's for, Dad, come
Yeah.
on. And he's like,
Nope.
but if we go this way, I'm like, oh. But I was somewhere
Yeah.
else. I'd gone somewhere and I was driving.
When you went camping down south of me, how can I not remember the name of the
Oh, Lost
camping?
Maples?
Los Maples. That's it. Because even Dad called me. Do you know if your sister took that way I told her to take? Because she should have. And then he tells me all the directions.
Well, because we ended up
This is
going
why
with
she
him
needs to go this way.
the next time we went, we took him with us, out there. But yeah, and so after I left, because I just listened, I'm like, okay, okay, all right, sounds good, Dad. Okay, Google. And then he calls me en route. He's like, where are you? What road are you on? Oh, you didn't go there.
Yep.
Sorry, Dad. But that's just Dad,
So, big intentions. What's going to be your big intention now?
I know what I want it to be, but I want it to be with us. And that's not how it works, I don't think. Ah!
Why can't it be with us? Because
You have to be
us means everybody who's watching this.
See, I'm limiting myself.
We are us.
I want community. I want to be able to pursue. There's multiple things, Elaine. I think so big, and I don't know how to put it all together.
Well, personal, and then beyond personal, because people are going to be, of course, people are going to want naturally to have their own personal intentions for family and whatever else. But I feel like when we talk about this podcast together and what we want for intentions is our personal is a contributor, sorry, I have a retainer in, is a contributor to the bigger picture, which is everybody else. It's kind of like the nurture. You can be the home care, but if your home health is not taking care of themselves, then the one that's being cared for can't be cared for in the best way possible if the caretaker can't take care of themselves or neglects themselves. And that's the same with you and me. We're like the caretakers. So you have to be in a good spot in your personal life, because then genuinely, how can you offer everything that you have to offer? And I mean that in a good way too, because even life lessons that have negative outcomes can still be something for somebody else to understand, maybe find a different view or find an appreciation or find another way that they didn't think about that they could work through as well. And that can resonate with a lot of people too. I think that's a big intention, starting with yourself and putting it out there. What do y'all think?
I think
I want to know what y'all's intentions are, or how you manifest it, or what you think. It can be anything and everything.
And not only send us, if you want to comment, but it would be really awesome to hear it in your voice. Like if you want to send us an audio clip and we could create another follow-up and talk about that. And share some of the audio clips that our friends sent to our email.
I would like that.
Not only what their intentions are, but also like what their takes are on intention and manifesting, because I feel like that would help. Because I'm so new, like really focusing on this lately. I feel like this is a big part of the shift that I'm making is this spiritual's not the word I'm looking for, but just growth.
I think it's growth. I feel like it's your shedding, and then when you shed, you grow, and you're letting out all those inner things that you've kept tamped down for so long, that you just kind of hid away from yourself for so long.
I feel like we've been talking about,
and that could be intentions. That can be intuition.
Well, what about you? What are your intentions then?
Okay, so that's where I struggle, because I'm, like I said before, I'm more analytical, because I think about, okay, I want to do task-based types of things and analyze, okay, I'm going to do this and this and this. So, completing goals. I do well with completing goals because I can get sidetracked. So I know I'm going to finish school and I'm going to graduate next May. And I have lots of intentions for getting things done here on my property. But I don't know where that may lead me in the long run as far as this goes. But my intentions are, at least for this podcast and everybody there, that even if it's just one person, and there's that one thing that I could say that can make a difference in somebody's day or make them feel better or have hope that they didn't have before, then I think I achieved it.
Yeah. I feel like the intention I have is, it's like I feel like when I try to visualize what it would be in the long run, it doesn't feel quite right. Like I don't know just yet. But it's like that, like community and growth and helping people grow. Before we started this, I really was just like, my passion, like on my other channel is just like, I want people to be self-sufficient. I want people to have that in them where they know they can do and be and take care of themselves. And not that I'm saying, I think community is very important and having other people, but it's also important to be able to know that you can take care of yourself, and I feel like it's like two pieces of the puzzle financially with like finding ways, reselling and thrifting and print on demand, all these other ways that to kind of make money. And then the internal, like you have to have that in yourself. But I don't know where this is going to end up. Like when I start picturing like, oh, a community center, but then I'm like, that doesn't feel right. Like it doesn't. It's like, so I feel like there's like a piece is missing.
Oh, that's just because we got started, Mama. When people start chiming in and we get all that diversity in here and the creativity, and we just start mixing all those ideas and conversations together and life experiences, that's itself going to take shape. You just have to trust that it will.
And that's what I say to you when you say, like, I've done all these things and none of them tie together. I'm like, it will. And I can see that.
And that's hard because it's easier for me to say, I love to help people empower themselves. And then I'm the type of person that I am my own worst critic, because it's harder for me to see for myself when I can see and observe others and everything around them.
That's our journey.
Yeah.
We were talking about that too with other people's biz. Like my kids are this or that. And I'm like, oh, well, you can make a business out of that. And here's how. Blah, 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 blah.
Oh, yeah.
But then when it comes to me and I'm like, how do I do this? Like on my own thing, And I get so many ideas and then I'm just like, I don't know how to bring this to fruition. And then I've started writing them down at least. So that's a step in the right direction.
Spirals of ideas.
You and I still have ideas that we talked about that we haven't, but the ideas are still there.
Yeah.
And we don't know where they're going to go. If anywhere. Who knows?
Not yet.
Yeah. Those birds sound so nice in the background.
You could hear them? Yeah. We were talking about selenite, so I had to go pull out some rocks.
What do you think? I mean, just as an aside, like about, people are like, this rock is for this thing, and this rock is for that thing. And do you believe in all that? Do you think it's valid, or do you think it's like wishful thinkings?
I don't know. It does have special properties, though, and depending on where it's from in the world with all the different minerals, I can't say too much. All I can say is that I've always liked rocks since I was a kid, and always liked picking them up. And
Me too.
I think it's a good tool to help you focus if you need focus on making an intention or releasing something, or
True.
because people talk about charging them up in the sun and cleansing them in the moonlight and this and that. I know that crystals are very important. I mean, that's how, with the way that light passes through them, how they make vaccines. And I mean, there's a lot of scientific properties that are used for inventions and things of that sort. But
that's true.
I enjoy their simplicity too.
That's true. It's something to think about. I think it's something maybe I need to look into.
I want to look into it more and learn for sure.
Yeah. Because I like to try to take full moon walks or to do stuff in the full moon,
Yeah.
And I don't know. So maybe if you're able, you guys, you, then we can get a thread going where we take a picture of the full moon and, share it on Instagram. We can tag each other to see how the moon looks for each other in different places. Wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah. And so like Wednesday, I can walk down the trail here under the moonlight and show you, what it looks like.
We can maybe just do a quickie live.
Yeah, just a little, snippet.
Yeah, because it's what, Tuesday or Wednesday this week, I think.
Wednesday.
It's the full moon. I need to go because I could have sworn I took pictures when we were at Garden of the Gods, and it was full enough. It was fullish.
Yeah.
And there was like the clouds were just like amazing, and I'm glad we get to do this today. And I hope everybody has a really good week.
Yes, an amazing week. And I really look forward to hearing the responses that we receive from all of you.
Yeah, me too. Love you.
Love you too.
I'll see you later.